Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Alviar-Eisma from Philippine Science High School main campus and also a graduate student from University of the Philippines taking up educational psychology. So for today, I would like to share with you my research entitled What is Your Section? A Study in Social Stratification in Education Through Tracking or Ability Grouping, a Philippine Setting. For the flow of the presentation, introduction, problem, methodology, results, and discussion, then conclusions and implications. So let's start. After the first day of the school, the first thing a parent will ask from his or her child is, what is your section this year? The reaction may be a disappointment or a surprise. Because from early graders to secondary levels, all students are grouped into sections. Every section has its label, such as for the top class, we have star section, cream section, high performing class, all the positive descriptions that we can name, while the bottom class receives the negative description, like low performing class, a pool of problem students, and so on. These labels are the product of the sectioning that school administrators do each school year. And once they are already in their section, the socialization that happens inside the section mold the students' personality, aspirations, and academic achievements. In the public schools in the Philippines, most achievers are grouped in Section 1, while the rest of the students are grouped heterogeneously. But unintentionally, there is a creation of a discriminatory and segregated system in school through sectioning. According to Worthy in the United States, before and even at present, all white students could make it to the best schools, while the minority in the inferior schools and programs. So what is tracking and ability grouping? So according to Gamoran, tracking refers to broad pragmatic divisions that separate students from all academic subjects, while ability grouping refers to divisions among students for particular subjects. But for Worthy, both terms refers to assessment, grouping of students into categories for the purpose of providing differential instruction within or across classrooms. So for this present study, tracking and ability grouping will be used interchangeably. So mainly the goal of tracking is to instill learning and at the same time extend the capacity of this learning. Theorists believe that the said process promotes a broader scope of efficiency in the cognitive development of students. But for Gamoran, it contributes more to what? Inequality. Gamoran viewed ability groups or tracks in three aspects: organizational, social group, and institutional. When we say organizational, there is a hierarchy, and instruction is different from others. Example, top class receives quality instruction, while bottom class receives inferior instruction. Next is social group. As a social group, there is a group characteristic and identity. So we identify top class as highly motivated students with positive self-concepts and high self-esteem, active interactions, while the bottom class are identified as unmotivated, low achievers, low performing. And institutionalized, of course, there is an institutionalized educational categories like for top class, they anticipate their future achievements, they're looking forward, of their rewards or what is their plan in life. Well, the bottom class, they do not anticipate anything about their future career life. They just what? Comply. In the study of Worthy, he found out that higher track students were given more advantage. So there is a difference between top class and bottom class. For the top class, given skilled an experienced instructor expected to behave properly, serve as role models, think critically, learn independently, high expectations, given more help and understanding, while at the bottom class, they're focused on basic knowledge, test-taking skills, rote learning, not developing the critical thinking, expected to behave well and conform, low expectations, given less help and understanding. So there is now a stratification. According to Almendinger, stratification in education, it refers to both the kinds of programs offered and their links to the future opportunities, and to the degree to which systems have differentiated types of schools whose curriculum is can be categorized to higher or lower. In the Philippines, we have private school and public school, science high school and regular high school. According to Kirchhoff, social stratifications defines both a condition and a process. As a condition, it refers to the idea that members of population have characteristics that differentiate them into levels or strata. In relation to education, uh, Kirchhoff stated that education serves as a significant contributor to the process that differentiates a society's population into strata. And this truth can be illustrated through what? Rich family and poor family. We can see that, of course, if you came from a well-to-do families, they can provide for their children's physical, emotional, and academic need. That's why they ended up in the top class. In contrast, families who belong to the lower part of the pyramid cannot even provide for a complete meal to their children. So how can they perform well with an empty stomach? That's why they ended up in the bottom class. As the saying goes, students must low first before they bloom. So, ironically speaking, the institution that should be teaching equality and equity to young students is a clear example of inequality and inequity. So, let's look at the history very quickly. So, research on social stratification in education. So, since the 1970s, there is already a decline in systematic school-wide tracking programs, and then 1990s, a decrease on research about ability grouping in the assumption that lessons learned have been applied in educational practice. But according to Latendra and colleagues, ability grouping in the United States is actually again or still thriving. So, in order to find out if this still thrives, even in the postmodern era, the researcher the following problems. How many percent of the students in each section is from different socioeconomic status? Is there difference in how the teachers conduct classes between honor section and regular section? How salient is the issue of ability grouping in teachers' descriptions of students and instruction in honor and regular English classes? Our sample population in one of the public high school in the Philippines, 130 grade 10 students, 10 teachers were interviewed, and then 3 sections were observed. We have section 1, honor section, section 2 and 3, a regular section. Then the methodology used, survey for the students with 4 parts: personal information, family's income, school resources, and learning environment in the classroom. Then class observation of free English classes, then semi-structured interview of 10 public school teachers. So what are the results now? The survey showed first in the monthly income of the family, according to Philippine Statistics Authority, middle income family earns $20,000 or $400 above. Family who earns between 10,000 to 20,000 or 200 to $400 a month is considered low income but not really poor. So the result, from the result, it can be observed from the data that the percentage of a family earning $200 and above decreases from section 1 to section 2. But it can also be observed that from these public high school students, their family is earning like $200 and above. No family is actually earning more than, or if there may be, there are very few. So, where are the students from the middle income earners studying? Where are they? Where are the students? They may be studying what? In a private school. So this is again another social stratification in education, wherein students from private schools are mostly from middle and rich family, while students from public school are mostly from the low income earners of the society. Then for the parents' occupation categories, we have skilled workers, working uses manpower, then self-employed, have livelihood at home, then professional, graduated college and employed, and then we have the unemployed. So from the result of the survey, we can see here that the highest percentage of employed parents in section 1 and the percentage of unemployed parents are more in sections 2 and 3. So you see here the unemployed are more in section 2 and 3 than in section 1. Next is a type of family housing. So owned, renting, or living with relatives. As this is a provincial public school, the families living here are considered locals, which explains that most families are original residents, and of course, they own their house in the province. And Bulacan is a province next to Manila, so as part of the decongestion of the urban, housing was built in Bulacan, which explains the percentage of those who are renting. Then, is there a difference in teaching approach between sections? So when the students answer this, majority of the student agree that there is no difference in teaching approach between sections. But I think the culture also has an effect on this because the Philippines has high collectivist culture. So they really look up to authority. And of course, who is the authority in the classroom? They are the teachers. So they expect that what their teachers are doing inside the classroom, how they teach is actually what they should be doing. Okay, so they don't really see the difference between the actual teaching or the learning process happening inside the classroom. So for the class observation, it is divided into 4 categories: class organization, methods and materials used, uh, teacher-student interaction, and then the content. So 3 English classes were observed, 1 honors class, and 2 regular classes. So for section 1, there is 1 teacher. Then for sections 2 and 3, they are both under same teacher B, who is actually a physics major, but was given a task to teach an English subject, which is very common in a Philippine school, not only in public, but in private school, wherein teacher is given a teaching uh, load or task that is not of his or her discipline or major. So let's look at the observation in class organization. The teacher in section 1, the teacher reviews the class and states objectives for the day. There is logical organization of the lesson with summary and evaluation at the end. While the teacher in section 2, there's no mention of the objective. The teacher just came in and the teachers asked the students to copy the notes written on the Manila paper. The Manila paper is like a big paper, of course, that you can bring anywhere. Okay, so you can see here the difference in the teaching approach or teaching pedagogy. Then for the methods and materials used, the teacher provided, in section 1, the teacher provided well-designed materials in an organized manner to meet the goals objectives of the class, such as small group discussions and evaluation. While the teacher in sections 2 and 3, again, she just asks the students to copy and then gives a lecture even the students are still copying the notes. Teacher-student interaction, of course, when there is a discussion, the students participate, and we can see it in section 1. Okay, the teacher invited class discussions, solicits students' input, responded appropriately. While the teacher in sections 2 and 3, the teacher would like the students to interact with her, but the students are still copying the notes. So she keeps on talking even though the students are not listening to her and they are busy taking down notes or chatting with their uh, classmates or seatmates. For the content, the teacher in section 1 showed mastery of the lesson and gave relevant and relatable examples to the students. While the teacher in section 2 and 3, the teacher cannot expound on the topic because it is not her major. Students' behavior, there is also observed difference. The students in section 1 confident, excited to learn, participate, they are well behaved, sits properly, raise hands, tidy, pleasant appearance, while the students in sections 2 and 3, majority, they lack confidence, does not want to participate in class discussion, slouching, came in late in class, lack proper grooming, chatting with classmates, or laughing out loud. Okay. Then I interviewed 10 teachers. Focus on the teacher's perception of the following: students' motivation in learning, students' life goals, and instructional approach given to the students. And here are the answers. First, for the perception of difference on the students' motivation in learning, only teacher C answered there is no difference because for her, all students wanted to finish studying and find a work. So it's just the aim. Okay, the aim is to finish studying and then be employed. While the rest of the teachers believe that there is actually a difference, and we can see their answers. The honors class are more competitive, motivated, under great pressure and expectations from family and school, more grade or performance driven, focus in getting their dream job and career of interest. Then for the regular class, less motivated as compared with the honors class, focus more in graduating in order to contribute to their family's income, do not show improvement at all. Then, for the second question, when the teachers were asked about their perception of the difference in students' life goals, teacher C and I answered that there is no difference in the students' life goals, whether you are section 1 or section 2. For them, all students aim to finish their studies and then find a job, while the rest of the teachers answered that there is still a difference in the life goals of the students from honors class and regular class. For the honors class, they have more concrete goals. They know what they wanted to be and wanted to achieve, have more chance to finish college. They are preparing for senior high school and college. While in regular class, the students there, they don't know if they can still study in senior high school due to what? Financial stability. They just plan to finish high school and then again look for job. And for the third part, teacher's perception of difference in instructional approach, teacher D and H answered that there is no difference in instructional approach between sections, as all students should be taught at the same approach despite they are from different social status, and that there are also students who are performing well in regular sections. But for the rest of the teachers, they said that there is a difference in instructional approach between sections because students in different sections, specifically honors class and regular class, have different abilities that need to be met with different approaches. The teachers need to adjust their approach to the level of understanding of the students. Students in the honors section are more advanced and they should be given more challenging tasks to reach their potentials. Students in regular sections need help in learning the basic skills that they need to move to the next level of learning. Then for the interview, and from the interview, we can see the three aspects of Gamoran's view of ability grouping as an instrument for inequality. Organizational, the top class receives quality instruction, while the bottom class receives inferior instruction. Teachers of honor class are master of their subjects, while the teachers of regular classes are not. Social group, teachers mentioned that they identify students from honor and regular sections with characteristics such as motivated and motivated, active and active, high achievers, low achievers, and so on. Institutionalized, teachers categorize the students according to their perceived goals of the students. The students from honor section have concrete future life goals compared with the students from regular sections. So the result of the study showed that first, there is indeed a higher percentage of students coming from lower middle income and above in the honor section, while the most of the students from poor families are in the bottom class. From the class observation and interviews, it was found out that there's a difference in conducting classes in honor and regular classes. It was observed that the best teachers who specialize in the subjects were the one teaching the honor section, while the teachers of regular classes are major of different discipline, which affects, of course, the instructional approach and the content of the subject. And from the interview, the three aspects of how ability grouping leads to inequality was shown, namely organizational, social group, and institutionalized. Limitations of the study and recommendations. The study was conducted in one of the many public high schools in the Philippines with a sample of 130 students and 10 teachers were interviewed. Thus, the findings cannot be generalized beyond the samples. The results can be more conclusive if there would be more students and teachers who take the survey and interviewed, or a comparison study between different public schools and private schools, to see and evaluate if there is actually social stratification created through ability grouping and tracking. Implications: parents should be informed of the process and standards of placement classifications of the students. From the result of the study, as much as the teachers would like to give the students instructional approach to all the students, the difference arises from the students' ability and capability, and teachers are careful and reflective enough to see the difference. Is there an alternative to ability grouping? Mehan and colleague proposed that the tracking or placing students in heterogeneous rather than leveled classes. But despite some successes in some parts of the world, there are still schools who continue to group students within and between classes. So according to Latendra et al., the first step in tracking reform is to become much aware of how local constituents perceive tracking and its outcomes. In the Philippines, wherein there is a high collectivist culture, where the effect of community expectation and parental authority is very high, the tracking should be planned together with all the stakeholders. An eclectic approach should be implemented. Using different approach, implement step-by-step changes while keeping some traditional practices and gradually expanding unleveled classes. Up, in the Philippines, there are still some public schools that have tracking and ability grouping, and unintentionally, they still create social stratification in education. So, ironically, again, the institution that should be molding students uh, to think e- equally and in equity are actually building up inequality and inequity inside the learning environment. So, thank you so much for listening.